Hello, everybody. This is Group 13. My name is Justin Lee, also Michelle Markham and Craig Fries. Week 6, this is our demonstration for the Katalon lab recorder and all of our associated 12 test cases. And I will now turn the time over to Michelle to work through those test cases.
Okay, so here in Katalon, we were asked to download a sample test case, which worked well, and it showed us what that looked like, gave us a great example. And here we have created our own test suite, actually, and here are the individual test cases in our test suite. Now, what I'm going to start out with is if you look across the top here, we can play individual test cases, which are each of these little ones, or we can play the entire test suite at once. So we're going to start off with that. And I will click and it's going to jump to our calculator. And we're going to sit here for a little bit. And I ran through this a few times and you will note that it takes a little bit of time. And I think it varies different factors because it's taken different lengths of time each time. But let's jump back into our Katalon so we can actually see what's happening. You'll notice it's going to highlight in green as it goes through each line item in each test case. It's checking them off with a green check mark that these all passed and we're onto this next one. You can click on log here and you will see that will scroll through as it's scrolling through here, logging every line. And this is what made me realize that even if test cases are automated, they can still take quite some time because that confused me. Because when we think automation, we think it just happens in a blink of an eye. But as you can see, that is not the situation. So as it works through these test cases, we only have a few left. You see it's pausing a little bit, but you can follow it exactly where it's going here. If you look down into the log, you can scroll back through there. And on this one, oops, we have a failure. This red item, it didn't like that. So we see the X here, it has stopped. Down here, we have a message on our right-hand side. It says, continue this. Well, we're not going to. We're going to stop the test execution. And we're going to look down here in our log and see what happened. Well, the actual value 84 did not match 85, which if we jump back to Chrome, we'll see the math, the real math, it should be 84. And we can go ahead and change that. And we're not going to run this again yet because I ran into some other issues. We're going to jump down to the next one. I'll come back to this. So we see all these are green checked. They've passed. This one, we stopped the execution of the suite. But we can go down to this next one and just play the test case individually. And we don't have to watch it here. It's just kind of working through. So let's go to Katalon. And this is a tricky one. So this one passed. And what's funny is at different times it has not passed, and it technically should not have passed. In this second line item here, it says name equals 1,000. Well, 1,000 something plus anything is not going to equal 82. So that would be wrong. But also, there is no element named 1,000 in our page here. You can inspect, search and inspect that. I've done that. It doesn't exist, but it's still passed. Why is that so? Again, here's our log, but it had brought open this window called self-healing. So there's some AI going on in here. And it noticed that that was not a valid locator. And it proposed the 7. I'm not convinced that it does the math because of other iterations that have happened. But this is to point out we need to pay attention to our coding, not cutting and pasting. Our tests, we need to be careful because this could even though it seems to have fixed it here, we can approve that. Not sure what that does, but oh, look, it did. It replaced the name 7 here. It fixed it there. But if we did not really catch this or observe, we could see how problems down the line can happen. So in automation, where we can easily cut and paste, say we can duplicate tests and change things around, we really do still need to be observant and careful in what we're doing. The last test that we're going to run, we'll save that for a minute, but let's go back up here and we'll just quickly walk through these tests that passed. So all of them are going to reference, we're going to open this website and it selects the unique name element, the number 7 again. We've added that, we're going to add that to 7, we're going to calculate it, and this is the value that ought to be displayed, and that is true. At the bottom of our log, we can see that the test case has in fact passed. Now these are fairly simple. They're unique names in that you can inspect in the code to access these items. It works the same here where we've got divide. We're dividing some numbers there. Here we're multiplying. We even got complicated with the decimal numbers. Here we subtracted. We're validating the value. The test case passed. Same with percent. All right, so here we've converted the number to percent, again, using the same numbers as before, decimals. Here we've asserted the value in the display, and say 89.52, and then we clicked on the percent button. And as we've validated that it shows the 0.8952, so converting it to percent. On the next one, this is where we started getting a little tricky. The target for the pi button, you'll note here in this button, we tried to use the name at first, but if you'll notice, it is not a unique name. There's other buttons with the same name. And so it was a little confusing. That's when it was realized that we could click on the record button. So if I just do that now, it's going to bring us over here and I can hit any button I wish. Stop the recording, look back here. So it's in white. And these are the buttons, the paths to the buttons that I clicked on. I clicked on this. So this is how we were able to identify. And this basically, think of your CSS. It is just looking in the DOM and using a selector. So it's the 8th div, the first input in the 8th div is the pi button. And thank goodness it told us that because it was very difficult. If we go over here, I'm just going to go here and delete these lines that are not valid. But that record button is our friend in situations. The next one, the following here, we are doing the square root, had the same issue, needing to use the X path to specify the proper button. We passed. Rounding the decimal number, again, the same idea as before, entering the numbers with decimals, calculating it. We displayed this really big number with lots of decimals places. We want to round it to just 2 places. And that was accomplished, validated. Again, you'll see the X path all the time in our log if you want to follow details of what was happening up here with the ultimate test case pass showing. It even takes screenshots at times. Apparently not always, but lots of possibles for them to reference as it gets more complicated. Here we're rounding to 0, X path again. the other identifiers. We've squared a number. Again, XPath. Clearing values. We notice here it's hit twice. That was not an error. You go to here, you'll see this is CE, clear entry. So we're going to clear the entry. Now that changed to AC. The little helper text comes up and it shows us that now we need to click it again, even though it's the same button, to clear all of the data in there, not just the current entry. Displaying negative numbers. This one's interesting. As we said before, the negate button is duplicated on the page in several locations. Somebody else will have to solve this mystery. We did not type this number in here or this locator. We used the record and Katalon input, but it can obviously tell that that was the negate button because it worked. It gave us the minus number. So the only thing I did notice it was a negate button was unique in that particular div where it's located, whereas the other one with pi had more than one negate button. But honestly, that still shouldn't work in my estimation. So there's probably something in the background happening more than what we can see. So keep your eyes open and be observant. But in this case, that did work. We didn't need to use XPath for some reason. The one that failed, we know what happened here. So we can just go in there and change that to the accurate number. Or did we already do that? Yeah, it should be 84, but we're going to run this test case again because we want to make sure it's correct now. And there we go. All green, all good to go. Green check mark. This one here, we explained it, that 1,000, it changed it to 7 for us when we approved. It caught that, but again, be observant. This is our last one, which is a little bit interesting. Our basic calculator, I did not see where it could do scientific notation. So we are going to use a different one. And so we're going to play this individual test case. And it's going to open up the scientific notation calendar. And note here, this is taking quite a bit of time. And my suspicion is that because there's ads and things loading. And so instead of sitting here, we can jump back into our catalog and look at the log to see what's happening. And see here, it says, wait for the new page to be fully loaded. So we're waiting. Also notice that the first line item, which is to open the page, is the only thing that's green. Oh, it timed out, but look, it eventually finished. Everything's green. So sometimes you just got to hang in there to let this finish. But I think that is all we have to go. Thank you for your time and good luck testing.